Hello, everyone. We are live for the 100th Positive Talk episode. This is crazy. I never thought that it would go to episode 100. That is insane. And I've still got lives lined up every day until July, pretty much now. So that's super exciting. And hopefully, a lot of my friends will be able to join me when I do my 100th episode celebration. I'll be doing it where everyone I've ever gone live with can join, and we're going to have a fun discussion, and I will be posting about that soon. Still trying to get as many people that I've gone live with involved. So it's crazy that I've done 100 of them because most of them go more than an hour. So that's over 100 hours of positive talks, which is crazy and phenomenal. So let's see if I can get, well, there's a lot of people requesting to join. Hello, everyone. Hopefully you all are doing well. I know that the lighting is a little bit better today. It's really kind of rainy here in Virginia, but let's see if we can get him on, and like I always say, like during the lives, make sure that you hit that little airplane button down there, or arrow, whichever one you want to call it. But you can share it with your friends so that more people can actually see this live, as well as the little question mark down there. You can actually submit questions for me or whoever I'm speaking to for the day. So that always adds a little bit to the conversation. So I think that is often a fun way to kind of be involved in the lives, as well as if you ever think that you've got something you want to come on to a positive talk with me for, like, feel free to send me a message and ask to join, because the whole point of these positive talks is to share stories that are different than my own so that people that watch can kind of get new perspectives in life. So always feel free to share. And let's see if I can get Sean on here. There we go. I'm trying to adjust this, and I'm still trying to get used to this apartment. Hello.
Yo, what is going on? How are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy Wednesday.
Yeah.
Hump day, baby. We are here. It's official.
It doesn't feel much like a hump day since Memorial Day was this Monday, so I feel
I've been out of whack all week.
Yep, most definitely. I had a live scheduled for Monday, but drinking was involved, so that kind of canceled the live for Monday. So you became the 100th episode. You were going to be the 101 episode. So
100,
there
baby.
you go.
It's an honor. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, I will let you introduce yourself so people know who you are, and then we can kind of jump into a discussion.
Cool. Well, my name is Sean Alexander. I'm 26 years old. I'm currently living in the middle of nowhere, Texas, out in West Texas, but I'm moving to Austin here later this year. I'm previously a professional fitness model, celebrity personal trainer, e-commerce dabbler, and just kind of adventure seeker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say previous model, what kind of shifted you out of that into what you're doing now?
Maybe I should have led with adventure seeker. It was time to move on to the next adventure. I kind of did it, done it, keep it going, ready to move on to the next chapter, get on down the road. So yeah, man, I did that for a little bit, but I think that I always knew there was more to life than trying to take nice photos, which is fun, but
Yeah. I mean, It's definitely an experience to get into that type of stuff.
Definitely.
You said you live in the middle of nowhere, Texas right now. How did you end up in the middle of nowhere, Texas?
It's a funny story. I was born and raised out here in the middle of nowhere, Texas. I found an adventure in New York. I modeled. I started a couple different businesses, like a meal prep company, did a small underwear line for a minute, was modeling and acting. And then someone put me on e-commerce, and I started selling rare coins online, which is the craziest thing. I'm not a coin collector. I don't have any affinity towards coins. I dislike them. They frustrated me towards the end of our relationship. But basically, I ended up moving from New York down to Texas to open up a warehouse and have a full distribution center. I had employees, shipping out 3, 4, 5,000 orders a week by hand. So I moved legitimately from New York to Texas because the barrier to entry of having a walk up to my apartment, 4 flights of stairs, it was too much of a burden to carry our inventory up 4 flights of stairs. So I tell people I moved from New York back to Texas because of stairs. That was the big reason.
I love that. I
Yeah.
actually just moved into my apartment, and I was super excited to find out that the back of my apartment, because I'm on the second level, is level to the ground. So there was no steps involved when it came to moving everything
Really?
to my
That's
apartment. So I feel you on the steps for sure.
Yeah.
So
So I did that for a couple of years, the e-commerce thing. Realized that's not also what I wanted to do, so I shut that adventure down. And now I'm back in school. I'm pursuing a finance degree and kind of just swinging vine to vine, man. I'm just figuring it out day by day. I don't really have a plan.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I think that a lot of times people in life will get so stuck in one place because they've invested so much time in certain things, and then they feel like if they were to leave that they'd be wasting all that time that they had invested. What kind of helps you kind of jump around to where you don't feel like you're kind of throwing stuff out?
I face that dilemma consistently because I'll find myself deep in on these tangential paths of modeling and acting, e-commerce coin salesman, meal prep business owner, concierge personal trainer doing it online. I've done a lot of different things. I think the thing to realize is whenever you do have the recognition that where you're at today and on that path isn't where you might want to be 5 years from now. It's like losing $2,000 at the roulette table. Just because you're down $2,000 does not mean I've come this far. I have no choice but to double down on black. You have options, and so I think that every single time that I've chosen to move vine to vine, I've looked around and said, hey, I've run this experience through. I've completed the experience. I did it authentically, legitimately, with my whole heart and soul involved. And then if it doesn't work out, it's like, okay, I don't have to grovel on my losses, but it's time to get on down the road and move on to the next vine.
Yeah, I think that that's really important for a lot of people to realize because sometimes, especially when you start adulting, when money starts becoming more involved and you have things that you have to pay for month to month, I think that a lot of people start to get scared and allow that fear to keep them in something that's so draining to who they are as a person, or it's past its time for that specific person. And it's definitely a scary jump. I just made the jump from corporate working to being an entrepreneur myself. And the idea of
Congratulations.
working for myself, it's super exciting because a lot of the limitations that corporate America puts on you are lifted. But then it's also like when things start to go, like it's me and I depend on me. And so that's been the part that was like the fear that I had to step through to kind of try something new. And so many things were kind of pushing me in that direction. And I really did feel like, you know what, like this is a life that I have to step out of and try something new so that I can actually experience what I want to try to do in life. And I think that like I was the type of person that allowed life to push me out the door instead of stepping through it myself. But this time, instead of being pushed out the door and stepping back into another door of corporate America, I'm just shutting that door and trying something new.
I get it, man. I forget what the saying is, but basically, like, move first, ask questions later. Just whenever friends ask, oh, how do you make this transition? I'm sure you, as a kind of role model amongst your peers to some extent, I'm sure you've got a crowd of people asking, holy shit, Drummond, how do you quit your job and just go do it? And there's no better answer than just do it. I mean, you just got to be a man of action and kind of take that leap. And if it doesn't work out, There's a guy named Jim Rohn who he had a, yeah, it's not a quote necessarily, but kind of a thought on this idea of reinventing yourself. He said, "Do you know why a goose flies south in the winter?" I said, "No, I mean, genetics." He said, "Exactly, genetics and the instinct code. Like the genetic code and instinct. That's what it is." And so he says, "Look, and so in the summer they fly north, in the winter they fly south. That's just the way they're programmed. But a human, man, you go east, west, north, south, this way, that way. It doesn't matter. If at any point you're not happy with the reality you've set for yourself, you can replace that with whatever version you want to have any given moment at any given point in time." So I think a lot of people get so trapped feeling like they can't move. In reality, it's like, guys, it's a pro con either which way. If you don't move, you never get the benefit, but you're nice and safe, secure, secure with a, whatever. But on the other hand, it's like, yeah, you're taking risks, but you get the freedom that comes with it, which it's nice. Once you've experienced it once, you won't want to go back to working for someone else. Like it's nice.
Yeah, I've kind of learned that when it comes to life, it's all about experiences. So I try to constantly be adding new experiences into my life, just because I think that through experiences and through your personal connections with the people that you meet, that's where you gain the knowledge to see kind of what else is out there when it comes to opportunities for you. Because as I've started to put myself out on the internet and kind of verbally speak what I love and what my passions are, like that's when opportunities just started presenting themselves to me. And I was like, wow, this would have never come into existence if I didn't tell people that I wanted to try something new, or that I had an idea for what I wanted to do with my future that was very different than what I was currently doing.
It's funny. I think, I had a buddy one time tell me closed mouths don't get fed. If you want something, the absolute bare minimum, least effort thing that you could possibly do is open up a dialogue about it. If it's just to yourself, they call that manifesting. You're just saying it out loud to yourself. That's okay. That's an audience of one, but an audience of one is infinitely more powerful than an audience of none. If you just, in your head, you're telling myself, oh, I could quit anytime I want. Oh, I could do that if I put the effort into it. Oh, maybe I don't really want that. And you start discrediting what your real true ambitions are, because it's going to be tough. I think that once you start asking people what they can do for you, and kind of offering whatever you can bring to them in exchange for that, once you start just putting it out there, what your goals and ambitions are, the universe has a funny way of kind of straightening those things out.
Yeah, I mean, just from moving to the city and just kind of pointing out that I am making that jump to entrepreneur, I've already had people reaching out to me and they're like, hey, there's this place that you can go for like small business owners to kind of mingle with other professionals, and it's this coming weekend. I'd love to take you there. I've got an extra ticket. And I was just kind of amazed at how things just kind of started presenting themselves. And with these positive talks, I never thought that they would get to where they are. I definitely had a goal, and I never doubted myself. Like when I reach out to people like you, when I reach out to other people, like I know what I want to do with an episode, and I'm just like, you know what? I can not ask and assume that this person might say no, or I can just ask, and the worst thing that they can say is no.
Closed mouths do not get fed. It was definitely going to be a no if you didn't send me a DM. So that's the whole point right there is, yeah, I think that a lot of people assume that things are just gifted or fall out of the sky into someone's lap. Like, no, you just ask. Just ask. It's such an easy thing to get good at. Just ask. For help, for advice, for an opportunity, for a connection, for the opportunity to buy them lunch and pick their brain for an hour. Hey, excuse me, I would really value taking you out to lunch so that I could just pick your brain. Like, if you don't ask, it's going to be a no. But I promise you, if you ask that question, hey, could I take you out to lunch at your favorite steakhouse or your favorite whatever spot? I'm feeling kind of like chicken tikka masala. So like your favorite Indian spot, let me take you out to your favorite Indian, John. and I'm just going to pick your brain. I'll buy, the tab is on me. I'll pick it up. Dude, I've had so many lunches and brunches and work meetings with people far and above out of my social class league just because I've asked. And I think a lot of people were too nervous to even take that, that very, very bare minimum step.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, like it just took the idea of realizing that I also had something to offer. It wasn't just me pulling information from other people. And when I started reaching out to people as well as offering my services to that person, I realized that a lot more people are willing to exchange that type of currency instead of saying, well, for an hour conversation with me, it's $600. And you realize that there's a lot of people want to help other people who are trying to make a change in the world and want to start on their own instead of working deathly hours at corporate America jobs. And I've just, because when I first started the coaching, I was reaching out to people that had businesses to help people start small businesses, and the amount of money people were asking for, and then I'd pay it, and then I felt like I walked away with like this much information, whereas the people I've contacted and like you said, like just had a lunch with them, it was so much more information, and they knew me a little bit more personally than someone sitting in an office space being paid to do this type of stuff. And I was just like, oh, okay, so this is how like people start to make professional connections, like doing a little bit more than going to the yellow pages or searching Google for who can help me start a small business. And then you want to start surrounding yourself with these people to where now you've got friends in all those positions, and you can provide services and they'll provide whatever you need whenever it comes up.
I got a couple points there. I think you kind of nailed it. I think that for anyone listening that thinks, oh man, I don't have any value, I don't have a service that I can provide. Oh, maybe Drummond, we don't know that much about each other. Drummond's an amazing graphic designer. Sean is this fitness coach. They can swap their talents for, it's value. It's not necessarily a service. You don't have to have a product to exchange. It's just value. And value comes in a lot of different ways. Some people want to offer mentorship. They're not going to go start their own coaching program, but they're looking for someone who is still value. And if a skinny kid walks up to me, 16 years old in the gym, and he asks me, hey man, I like your biceps, how'd you get them? I'm like, you are my son. Okay. We are like, excuse me, go tell your mom, I'm going to drop you off after dinner. Like, you are my protege. I think that if you offer up value and you say, hey, I'm here to put in the work, I'm here to be a sponge to you, and, just show up. I call it being a 51%er. If you just show up a 51%er, people are so much more likely to help you. Chris Rock has an interesting story. One of these comedians, I think Chris Rock or I don't know, one of these black comedians, really funny dude. He's got a story talking about he ran out of gas on the side of the road, and he got behind, and he's sitting in his car, he popped the hood, and he's like trying to thumb people down and flag them down and push his car, and no one stopped. 10 cars drove by. And then he was just pissed, and he's just like, man, F it. And he gets behind his car and he starts pushing by himself. And before he knew it, 3 cars had pulled over, and he had 4 people helping him push the car. Because people like to hop on to momentum. They like to push those who are already pushing themselves. And so I think to show up a 51%er, which is to say, like, look, you're always doing more. Hey, what can I do for you? You're on the job, you got nothing to do, pick up a broom, start sweeping. That's a 51%er. You would think it's 50-50 and that's 100. No. It's value. Like, value comes in picking up a broom and sweeping. It comes from staying 10 minutes after the party to just pick up. It comes from being a good person and being kind to your waiter or waitress, and doing all these little things. People notice that. The fact that I noticed this, and you're sitting here shaking your head in agreement, it's like people notice those little things. So even if you're not to the point that you might have a service that you can barter one for one, not everyone will say yes. But if you just have good energy and a good outlook and good work ethic and determination, that is a very barterable, character trait. You'd be surprised at how far that can get you.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, like, because I do have a platform that's growing, because I do create content online, there are people that reach out and ask for advice and help for building or starting their own platforms or channels. And I will agree 100% when I see someone who's already got 10 videos out. I don't look at the numbers. I don't care about the numbers that are there. What I care about is the fact that they've put in the work to put out 10 videos or do stuff. Whereas if someone came to me with zero, nothing there, and they're like, hey, like, I'm trying to start a channel, I personally, when I hear that, I'm just like, well, come back to me after you've tried it a little bit, because I don't want to put my effort in to helping someone start a channel, because it is a lot of work at the front end. If I do all that work and then they do one video
And then you bust. I've wasted my time. You have not proven to be worth my investment. So I'll tell you, to backpack on that, there's this guy, his name eludes me at the moment, but he's like net worth 500, 600, 750 million dollars. I mean, just a big, big time business player. And it's funny. I think the real big time business players would hear 750 million and laugh in my face. But like that, I mean, come on, you're not a small fry, okay?
yeah.
He will hop on anybody's podcast. Anybody's podcast. He has one rule. You got to have over 100 published episodes. I will fly to you and I'll take time out of my day. I'll coordinate it with my assistants. I will spend an hour on the phone with anybody that has got 100 published episodes. And it's just like, look, that's the barrier to entry. It's like if someone asks me for a workout plan, but it's like they haven't even started to eat healthy, or haven't even started to do research, or haven't even started to go to the gym, or they're thinking about getting a gym membership. It makes it really tough for me to want to invest in that. Same thing as if you go and talk to someone really successful about a business idea or starting a social media feed. If you haven't got any momentum, I'm not here to supply you with it. I'll give you direction, but I'm not here to supply you with momentum. You got to pay me the big bucks for that, to be your full-time accountability, little chirper. Sorry, that's a lot of effort. So come with the momentum, and I think people will reciprocate.
That's actually where I started. Some friends that also do coaching pointed out to me where I was kind of failing jumping on as a coach when I was pulling in new clients. I was saying yes to people who were just interested in working with me, instead of asking some questions first to see where they're currently at. What are they currently doing to battle whatever they are battling? What goals do they currently have set? Because I was just like, you know what? I'm a new coach. Like, I want to work with everyone who's interested. Mm-hmm. And then I was realizing that there were some people who weren't moving towards their goals and would give up very quickly. Whereas when I started asking, like, what are your goals? What are you doing right now? And I started seeing people lay stuff out. And you can tell when someone's actually put time and effort into something versus trying to think of something off the top of their head. And it made a huge difference in the partnership that I had with my clients, because these people were serious about making change, and I was serious about helping them with that. Whereas before, there was just people who wanted that one-on-one time with me, but didn't have any goals past that. So I think that it's important for people to realize that there has to be some forward motion to move towards your goals on your own before you start reaching out to other people as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, if anybody has any questions, by the way, drop them down, and I think we'll answer those as we go. But do you have any other big topics kind of on your mental? I know you said something about like health and wellness a little bit and kind of pursuing that. Have you got any new goals in that front, or in terms of coaching, where do you place your level of importance on that, and telling people like mind and body? What's your thought on that?
I mean, personally, I've always believed that it all wraps in together. Like, you can't focus on one without the other one being involved. And I think that a lot of times that's where a lot of people fail when it comes to like their fitness goals or their mental health goals. Because if you're not practicing those things together, eventually you fall off the wagon of both of those things. Because personally, I struggled with fitness because I didn't attach my mental health to that. I had a negative relationship with my fitness goals. Like I put the mindset of I have to do this. I'm forcing myself to do this. Whereas when I changed that around to where I started realizing that I was lucky enough to have time, I was lucky to be physically fit enough to be able to put these types of goals into my daily routine. And when I started, instead of dreading the change in diet, appreciating the diet and not creating a diet that just made me hate eating, uh, it all changed. And then when it came to like my mental health in general, I realized that when I started adjusting the things that added stress to my life and doing what I could to remove the negative things that, whether it was friends that weren't on board with me making goals, whether it was work schedule that just really made it almost impossible to work out in a healthy way instead of doing it at 2 a.m. when I'm already exhausted. Like
Yeah.
when I started putting all of that together, like it all became more natural. And for me, fitness was always something outdoors for me. I enjoy the outdoors. I hate the like repetitiveness of the gym. Uh, I just love activity. So climbing to a top of the mountain, starting off with easier trails and then going to the extreme, that was a lot easier for me than sitting in the gym and constantly just going through those types of things. So when I worked with the fitness trainer, that was kind of what I was telling him. I was like, look, don't send me
Hey,
to the gym like 5 days a week. I'm gonna hate that. Like,
yeah.
how can I, all these things that you know about fitness, how can I kind of tie that into stuff that's outdoors, whether it's sports, whether it's hiking, kayaking, all of those types of things. And when I kind of tied it in that way, I gained a really healthy relationship with fitness, which was really nice for me because my goal was never to be like, I want to be a fitness model in a magazine. I just want to be healthy to where I can hike and not die from exhaustion, and where I can just hang out with people and do stuff to where I wasn't constantly at the gym because like with my busy schedule I already had, like a lot of people are like, yeah, here's my fitness plan, and I'm like, that's like all my free time at the gym. That's not what I want to do. So
Yeah.
I think that that's important for people to realize is not everyone is meant to like sit in a gym to
Yeah,
get
I
their
think
goals.
people put such limiting boxes around that. Fitness is not dumbbell curls. You know, it is not bicep curls. That is not exactly the same thing. It's like a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. Like, yes, bicep curls are fitness, but fitness is not just limited to this thing. But I do think that there's a really important tie-in with your mental health and emotional and mental well-being and your physical fitness and just kind of staying active, whether or not that's being in the gym, deadlifting 500 pounds, that's not my cup of tea either. Or going on long walks around the neighborhood in the evening. That is my cup of tea. That's my favorite thing to do is go on long walks. Um, and so I think a lot of people don't put enough emphasis on the basics, which, basic starting macro, just simply doing any type of activity, practicing any type of positive self-talk, and intentionally eliminating, to piggyback on that, eliminating negative self-talk, and then just, getting enough water in, getting your sleep, making sure you're going to bed on time. Don't drink coffee at 9 or 10 p.m. I think all these little things these are the fundamentals. Like should you drink a Red Bull at 10 p.m.? Like multiple choice question, yes or no. It's like, okay, like clearly we know the answer. I think whenever you ignore the basics, it's really easy to get caught up in the weeds and recognize, oh man, I have to have the craziest fitness plan. It's like, dude, you stayed out till 2 a.m. last night drinking 12, gin and tonics, and then had McDonald's Big Mac, on the way home. It's like, cut it down to the basics, just get outside, get back to your roots. And then, I think also in terms of fitness journeys, it's yours. It's not your fitness trainers. It's not your friends. It's not mine. I can write the workouts. I can send them to you. You can pay me to write the workouts and send them to you. It still is not my journey. It's yours. And if it's not working for you and you only got one body for the rest of your life, I would recommend you go find a program that will work for you. You know, if you don't, you just decide, okay, well, I tried them all and it doesn't work. First of all, it's not one size fits all. Second, here in about 40 years, you still got the same body and it's only getting in worse shape from here. You know, like it's all downhill, as they say. So it's like you better start today and kind of get everything ship shape so that by the time that you flip it from a have to and a get to, talking about I have to work out versus I get to, so that if ever it comes down to a point where you lose the privilege, you've appreciated the time that you had there. Whenever I got my neck surgery, I thought I was never going to work out again. I thought it was done. I was glad to have gotten as much physical activity as I did, and I'm even more grateful every day now because I could have been in a wheelchair. I had no clue. So I think a lot of people take that for granted, but in reality, it's a get to. There's no have to about it.
Yeah, I see someone asked a question that says, do you both think that the power of image/social media filters can contribute to negative society? And
yeah, here's a good one. You recently started your page and started growing a little bit more recently. What's your take on that? And to say, with everyone listening, that means Drummond is in the thick of it, okay? He is like posting content. He's thinking about it. I guarantee you he's looking at analytics, looking at page layout. It's a full-time freaking job. I've been at like 100,000 followers for like a year and a half. I'm not gaining. I'm not losing. But I've been very easy at maintenance levels, okay? I'm not really putting a lot forth here. So to say, to clue everyone in on where we're at in our journey, Drummond is working way freaking harder than I am at the moment. I've had those days in the past. So back to you.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the authenticity of online, like I've stopped comparing myself to other people, and I kind of really just tied into who I am as a person. My content that I post is something that I enjoy. I'm not looking for validation from other people, and I think that that's really important. I started to notice a growth with my platform and success with other things when I stopped seeking the validation of other people. I've talked to so many different people who message me and compare themselves to what I'm doing, compare themselves to other content creators that have large followings. And for me personally, I had to stop comparing myself to people. I definitely think that we have to be aware that people's content, it's definitely not the most authentic content out there. It's got to be catchy. Like if you're using your content to gain like profit, like you have to create stuff that's going to pull people in. I mean, I learned that lighting is important when it comes to what I create. I learned that depending on what I'm trying to get across, I need to be more aware. So I do put a lot of thought into those types of things. Whereas I think a lot of people think that it's just like, oh, take a picture, post.
Do you think that having, I don't want to put the word in your mouth, but I'm going to put the word out there anyways because you don't know the word I'm thinking. Do you think you've ever gotten to the line that you're maybe getting obsessive over it? And do you think that has, to tie back to the negative, social constructs and, self-image, do you think that you've maybe dabbled on walking that line and getting kind of caught up in intertwining your self-worth with your page's success?
I think I fell into that hole with my YouTube platform, and it got to the point where I started creating content that I was really uncomfortable with creating. And you could tell because like my excitement wasn't there because I was overthinking everything because it wasn't me. Because I was like, okay, all the other LGBT content creators are doing this. I need to fall into trends with them so that my content grabs hold to theirs and gets pulled up. And it wasn't until like I just realized that that wasn't moving me forward. I was just sitting there. I was like, you know what? I even made a video. I said, I'm going to start making content for me again because I fell off of that. Because when I first started, I was like, this is me, world, like, take it or leave it. And then I started gaining a lot of following, and then I was like, oh God, I've got to put out stuff that these people are going to enjoy, instead of just asking myself, like, what content do you really like making?
Yeah.
So my Instagram, I think that thankfully I learned that lesson before this platform started to grow. So like my positive talks are wrapped around that idea of bringing what I want to bring to the table instead of asking the world what they want. But yeah, I think that you can get wrapped up, especially when you start seeing numbers. I think when you see that extreme growth, then you start to think,
you get addicted to it.
Slow down. You're like, oh God, what do I do?
You take it as an attack on your quality of self, because it's like, am I not interesting? Am I not funny? Did I get ugly? Oh my God, like what happened? Like, yeah. So to say, I think that it definitely is a line that you are walking, having to balance, you know, being a content creator, which not getting the respect, being written off as like, you know, oh, post a selfie. And it's like, dude, it's tough work. I'm a creative, smart, hardworking individual learning 8 skill sets to be able to make this shit happen. And it still doesn't even look as good as the guy that posts 6 videos a day. And you wonder, like, how does he even do it? Like, it's crazy. It's like, it's very tough not to compare yourself. And so to say, I think that you definitely can catch yourself in that, you know, in that loophole, in that negative thought loop. Also, damn, I get so overwhelmed trying to respond to DMs. I feel bad. I just can't respond to them all. I haven't responded to my DMs in a month now, and I know they've just backed up to the hundreds. And it's like, these are pretty close friends. And so I think that it's like, you almost feel like your attention is being pulled in 50 different directions, and people feel like they have way more access to you. And so it's a lot to juggle. It's also kind of weird because it's like, as you build this personality, you recognize your internet thumbprint. Okay, it's out there one time. You know, I don't get to go back and, you know, the version of you in high school, all 25 of you listening to this, think back to you in high school. You were allowed in public without a leash or a chaperone. Isn't it terrifying to think at 16 or 18 years old, you were just like allowed to let loose? And some people in the world only know you as that version of you. That is terrifying. I was an idiot. I still kind of am, but I would definitely back at that point. And so I think to recognize, man, I'm walking a really fine line. Every message I say, you know, like you said, you kind of got off brand with the content you were producing. I did for a while too. I mean, I was, you know, prancing around in my underpants, modeling in New York. It was really fun. I had a great time. I don't regret it at all. But now my following is built of a lot of people that really want to see me and value me prancing around in my underpants. Well, that's kind of different than if I wanted to go have these positive talks. And I can go do it, and it'll be a whole shift in audience. But these are the things I'm thinking about. And it's very odd. But once you put a message out there, people will find that video. It really is up there forever. And so I think to figure out the line of, I want to be open. I want to be, and so do you. I mean, I look, based on this conversation, you and I clearly were cut from the same cloth. Very open, you know, real, talking about transparency, vulnerability. You know, it's like, hey, I'm bringing you the realness factor that I feel like is missing across social media. Where's the line? Do I talk about my personal relationships? Do I talk about my sex life? Do I talk about my business failures? What about drug and alcohol use? What about depression? What about suicidal thoughts? You know, let's say these things, like those are all like very heavy topics. You know, what about politics? Ooh, like that's, I want to be associated with that? And so I think that you start to look at yourself and the things you say in a totally different, much more microscopic level. Because it's like, damn, people are, especially as you start to find growth, people are watching, you know? And so I think that's a factor that people don't consider. Now, let me ask you one. What are your thoughts on people's first impressions of you now that you have an Instagram following that's growing and you are this content creator? Do you feel like that's changed the way that people react to you whenever they meet you. Let's assume you meet them, they don't know you have an Instagram, or you meet someone that previously knew you had an Instagram and has only known you from Instagram. And then let's say you meet someone that didn't know you had an Instagram and then finds out that you have one. All three of those are different reactions from different people. And sometimes they're really positive and other times they're less so. And so it's very odd. So the social media thing, that dives deep. Like there's a lot of layers to that onion.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it's very interesting when people find out about the size of my following. It makes some people uncomfortable because social media influencer doesn't have the most positive stereotypes that follow behind it. Because not all social media influencers use their platforms the way that I do. So sometimes it requires a little bit of explanation. But for me personally, I started to realize that the less I tried to hide about myself, the more comfortable I feel when it comes to presenting who I am to the world. Like, people know my political opinions. I also have the opinion of I don't share like what I don't like about the world because honestly, like that's my personal opinion. I try to promote the things that I care about. I'm not going to add energy to anything that I don't like because it's a waste of my energy. I will talk about who I do endorse, what products I do enjoy, what platforms I do stay on more frequently. But yeah, I think that one thing I noticed is I don't get to decide where someone meets me for the first time anymore. If someone watched my video from 4 years ago and that's their first impression of me, then that's their impression of me. And I also have to realize that each positive talk, that can be someone's first time. That's their first impression of who I am as a person. And I actually started writing a book where I kind of wrote about certain parts of my life, certain time periods. And then I had my friends from those time periods also write how they perceived me as a person so that you could see that my friend who perceived me as this, wow, this person's got it all together. He's really doing well. He knows what he's doing versus my story where I'm like, oh my God, nothing is coming together. I have no idea. I'm gonna like fail if I don't do that. Like my head versus what they're seeing me do was very different. And it's very interesting to have people, because with my LGBT status as well, I kind of share that after the fact because I am in more rural part. And I've learned that when people find out that status first, their ears shut if they're more conservative. And then when I share myself, they don't hear anything. Versus when they find out I'm a person with like value to add to the world, and then they find out that I'm gay, their eyes are a little bit more open to, oh, well, you're nothing like the stereotype that I've pinned onto that community.
Yeah, the preconceived notion that I developed without ever having a conversation with you or having anything to base that opinion on, but it's here and it's strong anyways. And you're like, oh, well, okay.
And that's one of the things I've loved about doing these positive talks, because there are so many people, and I'm sure people that follow you as well, look at your content and create this person of who you are without ever having a conversation. They're like, okay, this person's life is perfect. This person literally walks out the door and opportunities just land on his plate. And that's their perception of you as a person. And then when they see more opportunities being like, I just started a new business, I'm moving here, they're just like, must be nice to have such an easy life. And I'm like, you have no idea the work that goes behind it. Like you were saying, like, do you present your failures to the world when it comes to all the things you've tried?
And here's the tough part for anyone listening. Anyone still listening, first of all, thank you guys for still hanging out. Second, it's tough to present failures because on the one hand, whenever you're having living room talk with all your friends, you're like, man, F these influencers. They don't ever show their failures. Okay, here's the reality. I have gone out and showcased failures. Nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to absorb that negative energy. No one wants to sit down and listen to life lessons. It's like, in a very specific context, yes, certainly. But just for your Monday morning, whatever, if it's not Monday motivation, if it's like, hey guys, Monday sucks. Actually, here's all the shitty things that have freaking happened to me today or this week or month or year. It's like, it just feels like you're throwing a pity party and like, wham, 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 my pussy hurts. And it's like, no, like, it's very tough to find. How can I show you that, life isn't always rainbows and butterflies without sitting here and harping on the negative and making you feel like, golly, I don't, I prefer regular coffee, no depresso espresso for me, please. Like, it's a little tougher to get the message out and have it be received.
And I think that also makes mental health such an important topic for influencers to speak on, because like you said, people don't like to hear you talking about failures, especially when they see so much success on your page. And then you talk about things that you struggle with. A lot of times you get silenced for that. And there have been plenty of times when I've tried to share something that I'm struggling with and I get slapped with, well, at least you're good looking. I'm like, yes, because
thank you for discrediting. I'll tell you what, I died. I saw a tweet the other day that said, to the woman that claimed that I have white privilege, like, I'll bet you didn't even know that I take insulin. And it was just like, hold on. That actually doesn't have anything to do with, like, you can't just discredit someone else's struggle, but yeah, at least you're good looking. Excuse me, ma'am. Like, I don't have privilege. Did you know that I have diabetes? Like, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear it, but also that doesn't,
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to being an influencer as well, I think that one thing that I learned is when big things happen, whether it's, for me, this month is big because of Pride Month. So everyone seems to adjust their eyesight to your content. And then when it came to last summer, a year ago was when the Black Lives Matter movement really kind of started really full force going after George Floyd. As a content creator, people were criticizing me for what I was saying, what I was doing. Like, I went kayaking with my friends and I was attacked because
you're under scrutiny for everything you do. People will scrutinize every action because you're just more public. It's just this part of it, pros and cons. Being public is great, but also, damn it, leave me alone. Stay out of my DM sometimes.
Yeah, for me personally, and like we were saying, you don't get to choose when people see you. So it doesn't matter if I did tons of fundraising and I did things to promote like equality for everyone and did other things because
you're a heartless son of a bitch that was out kayaking in the middle of a social pandemic. It's like social injustice. So yeah, of course I don't feel bad. I agree with the other guy, Drummond.
Yeah, it's crazy to kind of have that platform and realize like you want to make change. Like I will say most successful people are people that actually care about other people. Like, you don't see a lot of people rising to the top and staying there if they don't have some type of good heart towards something. And
networking community, baby.
Because you don't get to the top by yourself. Like, when it comes to social platforms, it literally requires you to be social and connecting with people, and people won't connect with someone who doesn't care about others. And I think that it's important for people to realize that who you are at 0 is who you're going to be at 1 million followers. You're just more followers and more opportunities are going to present themselves to you up here. And so when people say, well, when I have a larger following, I'm going to do this. My first question is, why aren't you doing it now? Like, if I have $1 million in my bank account, I'm going to donate more at that point than when I have $10 in my banking account, but I also would still be donating. at that time, because that's the type of person that I am.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, even for influencers now with Pride, I've already start to see people who have not posted about Pride have posted about Pride, and the LGBT community has been very they've attacked a lot of people, and I'm sitting there like scrolling through trying to get a big picture of why this person is being canceled because they posted something about Pride. And I think that it's important for people to realize that there are so many causes out there. There are so many problems in the world. Not one influencer, like there isn't any of us that
Can't
can
take
do
them
it
all. Can't take them all.
Like
Yeah.
you can be a good person and support a cause, but not post about it every single day just because that's not your platform, that's not your like area of expertise. And I've definitely I've been attacked because I didn't post stuff about like saving the environment and the sea life, and I'm like, that's not my like I care
Oh no,
about those,
I get it.
yes.
It's like, oh, you haven't posted enough. You're racist. Oh, you're a xenophobe. Oh, you're a homophobe because you didn't post. It's like, okay, first of all, no, 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 and no. Um, I just didn't have my phone out and didn't think that like that was the most important thing I had to do today. But like, hey, here and now, baby, Happy Pride Month. Like, you know, do you need me to post it on Instagram? Like, is that, you know? So
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to full paint your room.
you know, write you a citation, sir. Yeah. Well, hey, dude,
Yeah,
thanks for having me on today. Congratulations on 100 episodes. That is
yeah.
badass.
I definitely appreciate you jumping on and doing this. I know that schedules can be really busy, and we planned it pretty far out to do this one. So
Well,
I
hey, man,
appreciate you
cheers
taking.
to another 100.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm already booked up till the end of July, so or June, already going into July. So excited about that. Looking and transitioning it into other things as well, to be a little bit more platform heavy, where Instagram's not the best for lives anymore
Yeah.
when it comes to other ones. But for people that are interested in like following you and finding you and kind of helping promote you, what are some ways that people can kind of do that and help you out?
I think the best way to do it is check me out right here on Instagram. You got my profile. If you're listening, it's Sean Alexander, Sean Alexander with 2 R's. And shoot me a DM, shoot me an email. I'm pretty good at responding most of the time. You will get a response. I always do end up clearing all my messages out eventually, so you'll get a response. It might not be quick, but I'd love to talk to you. So if you have any thoughts for me, you know, send them my way.
Awesome. And then when it comes to advice to someone who looks up to you as a role model, someone who sees what you're doing and really wants to kind of move in that direction, what type of advice would you give someone that's kind of in their journey and trying to look towards doing things that are similar to what you're doing?
Okay, for anyone looking for advice from me that sees me as any type of a role model, first of all, you should probably get your eyes checked and go find a better role model. But no, I would say I'm scared as shit too. I also still do not know what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out every day. You know, it's nerve-wracking. And also, I also feel like I am one crisis away from just not having it together. On the outside, cool, calm, and collected, baby, baby. On the inside, one catastrophe away from just not having it together at all. And that's okay. You know, I'm 26. I'm alive. I'm okay. I'm alive. I'm okay. I'll say it one more time for anyone in the back. I'm alive and I'm okay, and so are you. And that's my advice: is just keep on keeping on, because you're alive and you're okay. You know, you don't have to have it figured out. Nobody does.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I always tell people the best thing to do is just keep going. And instead of trying to plan everything out, just start. Action does so much more than like it's important to have some type of plan. Like don't close your eyes and go running around and hope
But
to
if you
not
were
run
going
into
to
a wall.
plan for 2 weeks or just take action for 2 weeks, take action. The plan comes second, guys. Like just get moving.
Yeah. I mean, I've done the whole planning thing where you put so much stress into planning, and then when you finally take action, those plans blow up and you have to replan anything. I think that knowing yourself, and this comes in mental health, fitness, career, knowing yourself, so knowing your core values, uh, that makes the taking action so much easier because when you know you, when you take action, you can make quicker decisions because you know who you are as a person. Whereas if you go out into the world hoping to find your identity from the people around you, the jobs you have, the content you create, you're going to be in a whirlwind of confusion because your identity isn't out there. It's here. It's who you are as a person. And when you take off running, it's so much easier when you are sure of who you are, which that's a work. And the more information you gain from the world around you, that changes who you are. Don't be afraid to say, you know what, yesterday I was this person, today I'm this person. That's
Hey,
different.
you're not a goose. No, don't fly south in the winter. East or west, baby. East or west.
100%. I think another bird analogy that I heard was when someone said, like, they looked at a bird and they asked, if you can fly anywhere, like, why do you stay here? And that analogy can be stuck with anyone. Like, we are not tied to any location. Like, ask yourself that question. Like, if I have the ability to do anything and go anywhere, why am I staying here if I'm not happy?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, man, great talk. Thank you so much for having me. Everybody else, have a great rest of your day. Happy hump day.
Yep. Have a good one.
All right. Bye, buddy.
Bye.